Hi, Becca Worthington, grief specialist here. I want to talk to you today about coping with grief on Valentine's Day. So, whether you're coming up to your first Valentine's Day after being bereaved, or whether you have gone through a couple of Valentine's Days, some might be okay, some might not be okay. And I really just wanted to reach out and give you a few ideas of things where you can support yourself, things you can do to help yourself. And this also applies to anybody who's on their own. You don't have to have been bereaved. My experiences in bereavement, I was widowed 6.5 years ago, and these are coping strategies I used, but they can very, very much be used for somebody who's on their own and not being bereaved. They are just on their own and struggling at the moment because it is hard. We're spending a lot of time on our own, and sometimes we come up to dates like this where we feel like the whole world is celebrating Valentine's Day. The whole world is with somebody and being bought a card and flowers and chocolates, and it feels like sometimes we're the only one who's at home alone. Even when we know that everybody is stuck at home alone, sometimes we are so in our head and we tell ourselves these stories that it's only us that's on our own, and it's only us that's not wanted or is never going to be with anybody. And we literally create these stories in our head. And the majority of time, these stories aren't true and they're not factual to what the reality is. But it's quite hard to step away from that. So some of the things that I'm going to talk you through will help you to step out of your head and be present and be able to cope with these things that are going on for us, these thoughts, these feelings. So firstly, I want to mention that everybody's relationship with everybody in your life, you have a very different and unique relationship with. So in turn, your grief is going to be very different and very unique to you. So please, whatever you are doing on Valentine's Day, there is no right or wrong way of dealing with this. There isn't anything you should be doing or that you shouldn't be doing. This is your journey, and you need to decide what works best for you. And that's a really good point, is that take some time before Valentine's Day to actually really feel into, what do you want to do? It may change, especially if you are going through grief and you've got that sort of those struggles and that turmoil, and you're unsure about what you really want in the moment, on the day, whatever it is okay to change your mind. My first few Valentine's Days after my husband died was very much about having options. So sometimes I would preempt something with somebody and say, do you want a Chinese takeaway, or do you, I don't know, I would have in my fridge a ready meal plus the ingredients to cook a really nice meal for myself. I gave myself those options so that in the moment I could make that choice. Because we will be triggered. It is very likely that with all the publicity of Valentine's Day, you will be triggered and you will feel sad. You will feel heartache and pain and anger and frustration. There's so many different things that come up for people when you're on your own. There are those thoughts of, well, will I ever be with somebody? Or, am I destined to be on my own all the time? You could be angry that your loved one died and left you on your own. And all those thoughts are totally valid. But they are thoughts. So what we want to do is step away from those thoughts and, the stories that we create in our head, especially those long-term ones looking into the future of, oh, I'm always going to be on my own. Nobody's ever going to love me. All of that. It's a story. It is not the reality. And you will get through this. You will be okay. But we don't want to make it worse on ourselves. We want to make it easier. We want to really give ourselves that love and care and attention so that days like Valentine's Day, that can be really tough when you're grieving, are not as difficult as we could make them for ourselves. That may seem like a harsh reality, but we are our own worst enemy sometimes. Our inner critic comes in, that negative voice comes into our head, and it creates stories, it creates havoc, it creates negative thoughts and feelings, and sometimes it can just be too much to push them away. So this is how these sort of suggestions that I'm coming up with are going to help to really bring you into the present moment, help you to focus on positive things and get through the day with as much ease as possible. Okay, so what do you want to do? First of all, have a think about what you really want. Be emotionally honest with yourself. Am I expecting myself to struggle on the day? Do I want to be with other people? Do I want to be on my own? But do have that backup plan. Call a friend in advance and said, you know what, I am choosing to spend Valentine's Day on my own. I'm going to shut out the social media, the world, the everything. I have bought myself candles and a book and some food, and I am all ready to have a lovely day inside, just quiet, films, whatever you want to do. But are you around and available if I need to call? Or, if you've made plans to sit down with your partner and have dinner, could I call you earlier in the day? Could I, do you have a rough idea of when you're going to sit down and eat together so I can call you either side of that? Sort of preempt having an alternative, having a backup. Can you go for a socially distanced walk? Can you, I don't know, pop to the end of their drive and just sort of wave hello, and whatever you are or aren't allowed to do, we can figure this out. It's really important that we make a connection with somebody if we need it. If we need that connection with somebody, Zoom call them, phone call them, whatever it is, just figure out what you really want. Take some time, journal around it. What do you really want? And put a backup in place. Something that's the complete opposite. So if you say you're going to stay in all day, have a backup plan to go out. If you say you're going to go out, have a backup plan to come in. Now, thinking about what you want and putting that effort in beforehand is really good. But the week before, certainly for me, I found there was a build-up of emotions before Valentine's Day. I felt that there was, I was expecting something. I was expecting there to be this sort of wallop of emotions on the day. It was, I don't know where this thought came from, but for some reason, I just expected to be overloaded with emotions on Valentine's Day. And I was terrified. It was like I spent the whole week building myself up to this dreadful day that was going to happen, where I was going to feel all the emotions I felt on the day that I was told my husband died. And I thought it was going to happen again. Every kind of what I call sad anniversary, so anniversaries, death date, even birthdays, whatever it may be, I had this feeling that I spent the whole week beforehand waiting for this sort of, I don't know, this bombardment of horrific emotions to hit me again. And surprisingly enough, it didn't. It never did. But what did happen was I was so built up with these emotions all week that by the time the day Valentine's Day came around, I was tired. I was exhausted because I had been so tense and stressed for what might be coming ahead, that actually Valentine's Day, it kind of felt like a relief. I would wake up in the morning, and even if I was emotional, even if I had this sort of, whether I cried or had this burst of emotion, it was never to the extreme that I was expecting it. It was never, you will never be hit again in the same way you were if you were told your partner died, or, if there's been that initial finding out that somebody has died. You will not get that again because it's Valentine's Day or because it's their birthday or the death date. That same emotion won't hit you. So it took me a while to realize that I was doing this, but when I did, it meant that the week before, one, I was more aware of what I was doing, so I could manage it better, and I could tell myself that Valentine's Day is not going to be as hard as I keep thinking it is. And I could also just kind of take some time out during that week and that run up to Valentine's Day, just to give myself some time and attention to stay calm, stay relaxed, give myself some self-love and care, and not be so, I suppose, stressed and tense to the run up to the day. Because also it then created for me, when if I got to this stress stage and then it got to the day and it didn't happen, there was then this massive low. It was like this, it was a bit like a drop when you've had a sugar rush and then you crash. It was a bit like that. And that sort of roller coaster was quite hard to then get over. And it took me a few days to then kind of get my strength back up and get over feeling emotionally drained and tired. So it's just something to be aware of. As I say, it took me a long time and I went through a lot of sad adversaries to realize that this is what I was doing. And even now I notice it happens. But because I'm more aware, I can deal with it very differently and I can manage it. So I actually bring myself out of that state before the day happens. And I don't, it became a habit basically. So I now can get myself out of that thought process. So just be aware of the few days beforehand. What else have I got here that I want to talk about? So treat yourself. I sort of mentioned this. When you decide what you want to do on the day, really, really make sure that there are some nice treats for you. I used to go out and get, when you could, get sort of my nails done and my hair done. I'd go to the grave. I'd make sure that I had a film I wanted to watch. I'd kind of get it all prepared in advance, or booked in, whatever it was. I would make sure that lovely food was there, make sure that I could get to the shops the day before or get an order in so that I had the flowers ready. Make sure that I have a candle that I light regularly, not just on special occasions. And it is there now for my husband and my father. And I make sure that I've got a candle in there. I make sure that there's enough candle. I don't know, I make sure that I've got some blankets ready to sit and watch a film and cozy up. Sometimes I will put his pajamas and jumper on and snuggle up on the sofa with a film in the evening, and just making sure that, you know, everything's kind of washed and clean and ready, and I don't have to think about anything. What I might want is all there and ready for me. And if I change my mind, no problem. But do treat yourself. You've still got a couple of days to go, you know, jump on Amazon, get yourself a couple of bits, and just give yourself that love and self-care. So the other thing that I really love to do is take some time out to honor my husband. So this was really important for me to do. Sometimes I talk to him, sometimes it's going to the grave, sometimes I will write a letter, even planting a rose. I've done that, and in his honor. There's lots of things you can do. Talk to other people about your loved one. Just take that time to really, really honor and share that love. The love you had hasn't gone. You're just sharing it in a different way. And it is a really different way, and it might make you feel sad, but the more you're releasing those emotions, the more that will help you heal, and it will support your body in not taking on the pressure of your emotions. If we keep storing up the emotions, it accumulates, and it's negative accumulation. So if you keep having all that negative energy stored up inside of you, it will make you feel ill and run down and tired. You know, it can make us really, really ill. So if there's tears that come, let them come. Just let them flow and really let your body do what it needs to do. Give yourself that, you know, that time to honor your loved one, honor yourself. And again, this comes down to giving yourself that love and self-care and attention. Talk to people about how you feel. If you don't know how you feel, journaling is a great way to express your emotions. Sometimes I felt I needed to journal before I spoke to people. So I could kind of get a grips around what I was thinking and feeling, because sometimes I didn't know. Sometimes I couldn't articulate what I wanted to, and it was really hard to help other people to understand where I was at, what I needed, what I wanted. And I really found journaling, it clarified my thoughts for me. I mean, sometimes I'd write pages and pages and pages, and I'd have to kind of go through and pick out the bits that I was actually trying to say and voice. But having yourself heard, whether it be through your journaling and to yourself, or whether it be through other people, is a really, really important fundamental need of us human beings. Being heard is so important. So really do talk to people about how you feel, talk to people about your loved one. Even if you're on your own and haven't been bereaved, talk to people about what you'd like for yourself. Feel into what you want and what your desires are, because that doesn't have to be a negative thing. Just because you haven't got something now doesn't mean you can't think about it and imagine yourself in that place. Feel into it and attract what you want by feeling into it. What else do we have here? So I think that's the main ones. So the last thing I want to say is, do focus on being kind to yourself and really listen to your body and what you need. It is important to do what you need to do and not feel under pressure or feel there's an expectation or a should to do anything. You are on your own journey. It's not anyone else's journey. Maybe have some little preempted notes, sort of saying to people, I'm not sure what I want right now, so I'm just going to wait and see. And I found I needed to write these down so that I had them in mind to then tell other people when they asked what I wanted or if I was okay. And because I didn't just want to keep saying I'm fine, because that's what we do. I'm fine, when we're really not. So if you need to write them down, say, I'm not sure how I feel. I'm struggling to figure out how I feel and what I want. But that's okay. That's how it is. And I need some time to figure that out. Or even ask them, say, I don't know what I want. I don't know how I feel. I certainly don't know how to express it, articulate it, ask for it. So would you mind if I just waffled to you for, say, half an hour, whatever it is, and don't feel like you need to say anything, but I just need to voice my thoughts so I can then piece them together and figure out what is going on for me at the moment. People don't mind, they just don't necessarily know how to help, or they don't understand what you need or want, or know what they can do. So by asking them to listen and not to try and fix it or change it is really supporting them as well to be able to help you. So have a think about these things. There's quite a lot to think about. A lot of it is about reframing it. How can you receive love? How can you give love? How can you make yourself really feel present in the moment of love? Not about what you're missing out on, not about what you haven't got. If it comes up, if it's there for you, then feel into it. Let those emotions happen. But let's try and focus on the love element and love of your friends and your family, love of the people who are with you and around you, and really support yourself to make Valentine's Day the easiest it can be for you. I'm really glad I'm finishing because my dog's about to start barking, or just has. So I will send you lots of love. And whatever you do, have a lovely day and just fill it with as much love as you can. All right, take care.